Welcome to NJLearn, New Jersey's online training platform for first responders, administered by the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness. This active shooter response training is designed to provide public and private sector facility officials and managers, first responders, and the general public with personal safety, situational awareness, and general knowledge of current and continuing activities to detect, deter, and mitigate active shooter incidents. This training also highlights the importance of reporting suspicious activity immediately, to neutralize threats posed by active shooters and save lives during such incidents. Remain mindful that you should always follow your agency's policies and procedures as they relate to this subject matter. Objectives. Upon completing this course, you will be able to offer options to civilians to protect them in active shooter situations. Describe the 5 stages of an active shooter. Inform civilians how to respond when the police arrive. Explain to civilians the 3 steps to assess and respond to an active shooter situation. Discuss the suggested protective measures to help reduce risk. Background. We will begin by providing a snapshot of the current threat from the 2022 FBI report, Active Shooter Incidents in the United States in 2022. The findings in this report, valid as of February 10, 2023, are intended to provide an overview of active shooter incidents, to better understand the threats associated with an active shooter. You can access the full report at the provided link, or by selecting the Resources tab in the upper right-hand corner of this slide deck. In active shooter scenarios, shooters often choose public locations and large crowds to maximize casualties. In 2022, the FBI designated 50 shootings as active shooter incidents, an 18% decrease from 2021, 61 incidents. Although the number of incidents have decreased, the number of casualties continues to rise, with 313 killed, in 2022, the highest count in the last 5 years. The 50 incidents in 2022 occurred in 25 states and the District of Columbia and represent 7 location categories. Based on location, 23 incidents occurred in open spaces, 14 in commerce, 4 in education, 4 in residences, 2 in houses of worship, 2 in government, and 1 in healthcare. In 48% of the shootings, the shooter had a known connection to the location. A detailed description of the events at each incident location can be found on page 10 of the report. A common practice has been that the shooter indicates their intentions on at least one of their social media accounts. The findings noted in this report emphasize the importance of active shooter training and exercises for all first responders and citizens. Report Summary. The 2022 FBI Active Shooter Report is a compilation of data from 50 active shooter incidents that occurred in 25 U.S. states and the District of Columbia, compared to active shooter incidents that occurred in 2021, and part of a series of FBI active shooter products published since 2014. The report explores facets of active shooter incidents, by month, day of the week, time of day, locations with 5 highest casualty counts, law enforcement, security personnel, and citizen engagements, the various locations where shooting occurred, the shooters involved, and ends with a summary of incidents. The FBI reports cited or attached are not intended to explore all facets of active shooter incidents but rather intended to provide law enforcement officers, other first responders, corporations, educators, and the public with a baseline understanding of active shooter incidents. The findings in the FBI report are too extensive to list in this online format. Nevertheless, you can access the complete report through the provided link or by downloading a copy by selecting the Resources tab in the upper right-hand corner of this slide deck. Active shooter defined. In the report, the FBI defines an active shooter as one or more individuals actively engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a populated area. The report suggests, in most cases, the shooter possesses one or more firearms. And, the active aspect inherently implies that both law enforcement and civilians have the potential to affect the outcome based upon their responses to the situation. Typically, there is no pattern or method to the selection of victims. However, in several cases, the shooter expressed hatred for the targeted group. Active shooter incidents are dynamic and evolve quickly. The average active shooter incident lasts 12 minutes, however, recent statistics show that 37% last no more than 5 minutes. Although not addressed in the FBI report, current threats can also come from vehicle ramming and knife attacks, tactics encouraged by the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. Additional considerations. Additional factors were included when evaluating if the incident met the FBI's definition of an active shooter for inclusion in the report. Researchers considered if the shootings occurred in public places, occurred at more than one location, were not the result of another criminal act, resulted in mass killings, indicated apparent spontaneity by the shooter, showed that the shooter appeared to methodically search for potential victims, and appeared focused on injury to people, not buildings or objects. Law enforcement and security personnel engagement during an active shooter incident is another key finding that warrants highlighting at this point. A common thread in the discussion of active shooter incidents is, can we stop the killing before the police arrive? Noted in the FBI's definition, the active aspect inherently implies that law enforcement, security personnel, and civilians have the potential to affect the outcome of an active shooter incident based upon their responses to the situation. For example, there were 9 incidents in which officers engaged in gunfire with the shooter. In 5 of the incidents, 16 officers sustained injuries. 9 officers were wounded in a residence, 3 officers sustained injuries in an elementary school, 2 officers were wounded at a hotel. During a traffic stop, 1 officer was wounded, and in an open field, 1 officer was wounded. In one incident, an armed security guard, a former law enforcement officer, was killed. Citizen involvement. In 8 separate incidents, citizen intervention ended the attack, thereby reducing the number of casualties. In one incident, a county transit bus driver, after hearing shots in his bus, drove to the police station where the suspect was arrested. In another incident, citizens restrained the shooter, and confiscated 2 weapons. One shooter was killed, when he was engaged by an armed bystander. At a church dinner, an unarmed citizen subdued the shooter. At a mall food court, another armed citizen killed the shooter. In another shooting, a citizen, armed with a knife, tried to disarm the shooter, but the citizen was killed. The shooter then died from a self-inflicted gunshot as the police arrived. During another shooting, an armed citizen fired at the shooter after witnessing a shooting. The shooter fled and was arrested. Finally, an unarmed citizen subdued and disarmed a shooter in a nightclub. 2022 active shooters connection to the location. In 24 incidents, 48%, the shooters had a known connection to the location and, or, at least one victim. The shooter had no known connection to the location in 26 incidents, or 52%. Shooters' known connections included, current employee, former employee, neighbor of resident, former student, parishioner, patient, acquaintance. Additional information regarding the connections can be found on page 17 of the report.
The shooter. In the 50 active shooter incidents, 61 firearms were used by the shooters. A total of 50 shooters carried out the 50 active shooter incidents. 47 shooters were male, 1 female, 1 non-binary, and 1 unidentified. The youngest shooter was 15 years old. The oldest was 70 years old. 4 wore body armor. 2 shooters had destructive devices. Shooters used handguns in 29 incidents, rifles in 26, shotguns in 3, and multiple firearms in 3. 5 stages of an active shooter. Police Lieutenant Dan Marcoux lectures extensively on the 5 stages of an active shooter, and highlights that active shooters can be stopped, sometimes, if law enforcement and public and private sector officials and personnel are able to recognize and report a person in crisis long before the shooting begins. We will discuss each of the 5 stages in the following slides. Fantasy stage, planning stage, preparation stage, approach stage, and the implementation stage. The FBI has determined that one or more of these stages were present in many of the active shooter attacks. By gaining an understanding of what these individuals plan and go through, prior to the attack, will help you know what to look for. The goal is not only to mitigate casualties, but to stop these incidents before they happen. Fantasy stage. During this stage, Something has set the shooter on a trajectory to attack. The shooter has daydreams of the shooting, fantasizes about the news coverage, and idolizes shooters from past attacks. The shooter may draw pictures of the event similar to this Florida drawing, or make web postings like the shooter in the Parkland school attack. The shooter may also discuss their desires with friends and foes alike to build self-esteem. If you learn of these statements or postings, believe them and report them to law enforcement immediately. If police can intervene prior to the suspect acting on their statements, countless lives may be saved. The second stage is the planning stage. At this point, the shooter decides the who, what, when, where, and how of his day of infamy. The plan will include notes and diagrams. This is a page from the diary of the Aurora, Colorado theater shooter, and shows a map and notes made during the planning stage. Oftentimes the plan is discussed with others and sometimes includes an accomplice. A large number of shooters take a week or longer when planning and preparing for their attack. The time and location are selected to ensure access to the largest number of victims, and shooters may have a specific person or persons in mind. Additionally, the weapons and where to get them will be selected. FBI statistics show that 2% of the shooters also bring explosives. These are the improvised explosive devices built by the shooters at the holiday party in the San Bernardino, California attack. And finally, decisions are made on how to travel to the target area, and how to dress to conceal the weapons without arousing suspicion. In most cases, the shooter will not try to escape. In one FBI study, almost half of the shooters were thinking about or planning suicide prior to the attack. If the police are tipped off during this stage, intervention can occur. The third stage is the preparation stage, and the stage where law enforcement and third-party observers will likely have contact with the shooter. In the preparation stage, the shooter may obtain explosive materials for IEDs or research making IEDs on the internet. This picture shows the booby-trapped apartment of the Aurora, Colorado theater shooter who left his stereo on full volume, knowing someone would call the police. The IEDs were set to kill responding officers. The shooter may break into a house to steal weapons and ammunition, or stockpile and pre-position weapons and explosives for the assault. This ammunition was recovered from the vehicle of the San Bernardino shooters. FBI statistics show that most shooters have acquired their firearms legally. The shooter may engage in frequent weapons training and testing IEDs. They may conduct surveillance of the target location, or do a walkthrough to familiarize themselves with the setting. In a November 2018 report on the Parkland school shooter, it was learned that the shooter was caught trespassing on school property numerous times, prior to the attack. Active shooters have been known to call friends or family and tell them not to go to school or work on the scheduled day of the attack, in an effort to keep them out of the line of fire. If someone calls the police about their concerns, this citizen intervention must be reported and investigated immediately. A thorough investigation can still lead to an arrest before the attack. The fourth stage is the approach stage, when the shooter is navigating toward the intended target. This is a very dangerous time for anyone who contacts the shooter. In this photo we see the Washington Naval Yard shooter, an ex-employee, stalking the halls for victims, before the shooting started. The shooter has made his plans. He is committed to the attack, and decided to act. They could be walking, driving, or riding toward the intended target, armed with their chosen weapons. Contact with the shooter could come in the way of a chance encounter with a trespasser, visitor, ex-employee, or student. Law enforcement may contact the shooter through a traffic stop, a citizen call, or a stop and frisk. The danger is compounded for law enforcement because they may have never had any significant prior contact with the shooter, or any idea of their intentions. When the shooting starts, we enter the fifth and final stage, the implementation stage. When the shooter opens fire, immediate action must be taken. Public and private sector individuals must initiate their active shooter protocols. Initial responding officers must rapidly engage the shooter to stop the threat. The shooter is committed and will continue to kill until running out of victims, ammunition, or is stopped by law enforcement officer or civilian. Active shooter situations are unique, because the shooter is fully dedicated to going for the top score, which is measured in the number of kills. The sooner a law enforcement officer or civilian intervenes and stops the shooter, the fewer casualties there will be. What to expect? In an active shooter situation, you can expect a very hectic, chaotic, and possibly gruesome environment. You'll be exposed to fear, noise, confusion, and alarms, to include severe injuries and death. This photo was shot, as concertgoers came under fire, at the Las Vegas Harvest Festival, in 2017. Active shooter situations evolve quickly, and usually last an average of 1 to 12 minutes. Average police response time is 3 minutes. 60% of the incidents are over before the police arrive. 30% of the police officers who make a solo entry are shot. This is a photo of the ballistic helmet worn by the first officer to arrive at the Pulse nightclub attack in 2016. The officer was struck immediately upon entering the club and survived because he was properly trained and wearing his personal protection equipment. Therefore, remain mindful that you have a better chance of surviving active shooter incidents with the proper training and wearing your personal protection equipment. Communications. The first few minutes of an active shooter situation are the most critical, therefore, you must be able to communicate the situation to all personnel and civilians. You must implement a communications capability that is practical. Use what you have or what you can afford. A mass communication system is a key factor in preventing deaths, and it must alert both employees and civilians. Consider implementing a public address system. Text alerts, or both are preferable, given a secondary communication system could prevent employees outside of the facility from entering into a deadly situation. And finally, the communications response strategy should be planned and routinely practiced.
Assessing the situation. First, you must figure out the situation. What is going on? Where is it happening? And who is doing it? This is the beginning of your personal assessment process, and the continuous evaluation of the situation. Once you figure out what is going on, you will be prepared to take the appropriate survival actions and select one, or more of the following: run, hide, or fight. Law enforcement recommends that if you hear popping noises, that you think may be gunshots, do not waste time trying to validate your own instinct. Law enforcement recommends you act on the chance that the popping noises may be gunshots, and evacuate immediately through the nearest door or window. If you cannot escape, safely seek immediate cover. It is far better to err on the side of caution. Consult this FBI link to view the run, hide, fight video response. Run. The continuous evaluation of the situation will allow you to take the appropriate survival action. Use all of your senses in your assessment, and do it quickly. Trust your intuition, your gut feeling. Determine from where the gunfire is coming and move quickly or run away to avoid it. Once you decide to evacuate, commit to move regardless of whether others agree to follow. Leave your belongings behind. No personal property is worth risking your life. Help others escape, if possible. People with special needs, such as physical disabilities, hearing or sight impairment, may need assistance. Some people may freeze and need encouragement. Help them if you can. If they refuse to move, get yourself to safety. Prevent unknowing or scared individuals from entering an area where the active shooter or shooters may be. Response: hide. If you cannot run, you must find a place to hide, where you are well hidden, and well protected. The shooter will be looking for easy targets. The shooter may be between you and the only exit, or perhaps, you would have to enter the area, or the hallway, where the shooter is positioned. In any case, stay out of the shooter's view. If you cannot get out, get to your hiding place and seek cover which will protect you from bullets, or at least, offer concealment from the shooter's view. A New York City Police Department study found that hiding behind file cabinets provides the best protection from bullets. If you hide, make sure you do not leave yourself in a position where you are trapped or severely restricted from moving. You will want to keep the shooter out of the room, so try to hide in a room that can be locked, and has plenty of heavy objects, such as a desk, chairs, or bookshelves that can block the door, and provide cover and concealment for you and others to hide behind. Do not move, and be silent. Turn off the lights and any source of noise, such as a radio or television. Turn off the ringer and vibrate modes on your mobile phone. They could unnecessarily compromise your position. Response: fight. If you are caught in a situation where you are unable to run without being harmed, or you do not have the ability to hide in a locked or barricaded room, you must be prepared to fight for your life, and do whatever is necessary to neutralize the shooter, in order to survive. Take aggressive action to disrupt, disable, or incapacitate the shooter. Yelling, screaming, and throwing objects, such as a letter opener, a stapler, a mug, a plaque, a glass, a pen or pencil, A heavy book, a chair, or a fire extinguisher can all be effective in this situation. Moreover, total commitment and absolute resolve are critical. Most shooters are not combat trained, so you must act quickly and aggressively to stop them. Studies show that when the prospect of confrontation, with law enforcement responding, becomes unavoidable, the active shooter commits suicide. And when armed or unarmed civilians resist, the active shooter crumbles. How to respond when police arrive. Remember, the police will not know you when they arrive. They have no way of immediately knowing if you're the shooter. When officers, or a SWAT team arrives on the scene, you must not appear to present a threat to them. Remain calm, and do as you are instructed. They must know that you do not pose a threat. At this point, they are focused on engaging the threat, and your cooperation is essential. For example, do not point at the responding officers. In low light and stressful situations, any directed hand gesture could be perceived as a gun. Put down items you are carrying. Slowly raise your hands and spread your fingers. They will know immediately that you are not armed or aggressive, and this helps officers focus on anyone who may be armed, and prevent them from mistaking you as one of the shooters. Avoid making sudden movements, or yelling and screaming. Officers will need to take command of the situation. You may be handcuffed, or pushed to the ground for your safety and theirs. After you reach a safe location or assembly point, you will be asked to provide information to investigators, prior to being released. Video. San Bernardino, active shooter evacuation. In 2015, in San Bernardino, California, a husband and wife team executed an organized terrorist attack at the husband's place of employment, during a holiday celebration. 14 people were killed, and 22 were injured. In this video, you will see a textbook evacuation during an active shooter incident. Pay particular attention to the law enforcement officers providing specific directions, while guiding individuals to safety following the attack. This video highlights the importance of maintaining a calm and orderly demeanor to safely evacuate a facility.
Are you ready? If you're not cool, I'm not walking with you. Sir? Go. Walk to that deputy right there. Keep your hands where I can see him. All the way to that deputy. You're going to make the left of the deputy's at. Thank you. Try to relax, everyone. Try to relax. I'll take a bullet before you do. That's for damn sure. Just be cool, okay? Don't let him stack like that. Get him in the hall.
Go.
Come on. How many you got, Halo?
47. Oh, 48. 48.
Press the elevator, somebody, please. Go.
Physical signs of workplace violence. Studies show that there is a great deal of characteristic similarity among violent workers, and that some workers exhibit warning signs before committing a violent act. Signs may be verbal or physical in nature, and it is critical that both employers and employees become adept at recognizing both. The following is a list of some physical signs consistent with incidents of targeted workplace violence. Indication of substance use, or abuse, including stumbling, staggering, or slurred speech. Symptoms and signs of stress and frustration may appear as frequent accidents. Significant changes to habits, appearance, or character. Pacing, nervousness, or restlessness. Depression or withdrawal. Staring. Angry or threatening looks. Clenching of the jaws or fists. Tight grip on objects. Possession of weapon, or keeping a weapon nearby. Violent reactions or gestures, including hitting walls, or breaking and pounding objects. These signs are not mutually exclusive to workplace violence, and instead, may be related to problems at home. Nevertheless, if you believe that one of your colleagues is in crisis, you should report that information to your immediate supervisor, human resources, or security staff. These are some verbal signs of workplace violence. Tone of voice. Angry or threatening. Unreasonable demands of peers or employers. Verbal threats. Irrational or nonsensical talk. Unsolicited talk of violence, weapons, or using weapons. Swearing. Increased claims of troubles at home. Shouting, yelling, or screaming. Defiant challenges to rules, or authority figures. Degrading others. Lewd or sexual remarks. Clearly, violence in the workplace is difficult to prevent. Nevertheless, violent acts can be prevented with a system that includes knowing and educating the workforce on how to recognize and report these warning signs, suspicious activities. According to an October 2018, FBI and DHS Joint Intelligence Report, an analysis of a body of past attacks and plots, identified activities that may suggest pre-operational surveillance of facilities. Some of these behavioral indicators may be constitutionally protected activities and should be supported by additional facts to justify increased suspicion. No single behavioral indicator should be the sole basis for law enforcement action. Multiple indicators, however, could suggest a heightened threat. They are: unusual interest in or unusual questions about security procedures, or overly suspicious actions to provoke or observe responses by security or law enforcement. Unusual interest in entry points, days and hours of operation, security personnel, surveillance assets, and access controls such as alarms, barriers, doors, gates, or locks. Unusual interest in security reaction drills or procedures, multiple fire alarms or fictitious emergency calls to same locations or similar venues. Loitering, parking, or standing in the same area over multiple days with no reasonable explanation. Unusual interest in speaking with building maintenance or security personnel. Statements by individuals or groups communicated verbally, in writing, or through video stating the intent to commit violence. Unauthorized individuals trying to gain access to secure or restricted areas at unusual time of day, or obviously trying to avoid surveillance cameras. Repeated visits by the same individuals taking photographs or video of vulnerable features, or security features of critical infrastructure, and individuals wearing garments not appropriate for the weather or season without reasonable explanation. You are reminded that an activity or person may not be considered criminal, but the activity may be suspicious and may be related to a potential threat. Report suspicious activity and special events. Reports to NJSARS can be submitted by several methods. You are encouraged to utilize your agency's existing protocols. The Counterterrorism Watch Desk is available for questions 24/7, at 1-866-472-3365, and can also be reached through the internet at www.njohsp.gov/NJSARS. Also, please keep NJOHSP informed about upcoming special events in your jurisdiction. The website has a form for this. Another way to share suspicious activity reports, or information about mass gatherings, is through your county counterterrorism coordinator, or your municipal counterterrorism coordinator.
Updated, Attorney General SARS Directive, 2016-7. Given we introduced case facts, behaviors, and lists of signs consistent with acts of targeted violence, a discussion regarding what to do with that information is in order. A Suspicious Activity Report, or SAR, is a top priority for law enforcement, and is defined as an official documentation of observed behavior, reasonably indicative of pre-operational planning related to terrorism or other criminal activity, a process outlined by the Attorney General for the state of New Jersey. On March 26, 2018, the New Jersey Attorney General updated and replaced SARS Directive 2016-7, issued in 2016, which focused more narrowly on suspicious activity with a nexus to terrorism. The updated directive expands the definition of suspicious activities to better reflect the current threat picture, and includes, in part, any and all threats of violence to public locations or mass gatherings, to include schools, workplaces, or houses of worship. Secondly, law enforcement officers are now required to report such activity immediately to the CTC and NJOHSP at CT Watch, thus eliminating the within 24 hours window. And finally, the updated directive requires NJOHSP to immediately share information it receives concerning suspicious activity with the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Forces and all 21 county counterterrorism coordinators. Suggested protective measures. Employing protective measures in and around critical infrastructure can assist enhancing safety, security, and counterterrorism efforts. Moreover, protective measures should integrate available equipment, personnel, current procedures, and information to improve threat detection. The following protective measures are suggested. Increase visibility of armed security and law enforcement personnel in areas adjacent to and in front of security checkpoints to deter unwanted activity. Raise awareness among employees by conducting all hazards awareness training. Establish liaison and regular communications with local, state, and federal law enforcement, emergency responders, and public health organizations to enhance information exchange or clarify emergency responses. Report missing or stolen equipment, to include weapons, to the proper authorities. Raise community awareness of potential threats and vulnerabilities, and encourage employees, tenants, and visitors to report anything that appears to be odd or suspicious. Go to the njhomelandsecurity.gov Resources tab and select the Risk Management banner under the Preparedness banner to find the Hometown Security Initiative. Management responsibilities. Many public and private sector facilities practice evacuation drills for fires and weather-related events. However, to prepare for an active shooter event, facility officials and managers should ensure that they develop and practice active shooter policies and procedures that provide for the individual needs of the facility and its personnel. Managers must then train and exercise all personnel and security staff on the policies and procedures so that they know what to expect and how to respond. All facilities should establish an immediate emergency notification system and test its functionality. Have readily available crisis kits that include items such as hemostatic dressing to stop bleeding, tourniquets, gauze for traumatic wounds, a flashlight, floor and site plans, and an employee roster. Ensure that your employees know the evacuation routes and assembly points and why they are away from the building and out of sight. If you have any questions regarding these responsibilities, you should contact your building management or human resources department about your workplace. Summary. Active shooter incidents will likely continue, affecting various public locations where people congregate. Oftentimes, the shooter will indicate their intentions on at least one of their social media accounts. Typically, there is no pattern or method to the selection of victims. However, in several cases, the shooter expressed hatred for the targeted group. Active shooters can be stopped, sometimes, if authorities and personnel recognize and report a person in crisis long before the shooting begins. In an active shooter situation, the police have no way of immediately knowing if you are the shooter, therefore, you must follow their directions and not appear to present a threat to them. Remain aware of suspicious activity, as well as the physical and verbal signs of workplace violence, and report any concerns immediately. Past incidents make it clear that, often, questionable conduct of a potential active shooter is not brought to the attention of law enforcement. Such information tends to go unreported. And, most often, law enforcement is called upon after the shooting begins. In closing, we will introduce the body cam video, from a Nashville police officer, of the Covenant School active shooter incident, that demonstrates a classic active shooter response by both law enforcement and school personnel. In March 2023, a 28-year-old former student killed 3 children and 3 adults at the Covenant School in Nashville. Focus on the following. The calm demeanor of the first law enforcement officer. School personnel waiting outside for responders. The immediate tactical entry by law enforcement officers. The distraction of the alarm system. The communication between responding officers. And most importantly, no students in the hallways. The value of having an active shooter response policy, and training and exercising that policy, cannot be overstated. The immediate response by law enforcement and school personnel clearly reduced the number of casualties.
Just got an update. It's going to be first floor, main lobby of what?
I'm making entry on the front side. I got a civilian that's sitting in here.
Kids are all locked down, but we have 2 kids that we don't know where they are.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Into my window, someone, they were upstairs.
Hey. Give me 3. Let's get 3.
Fellowship Hall, you guys listen all the way down this hall. Listen, it's Fellowship Hall. The end of this hall is Fellowship Hall. They just said they heard gunshots down there, and then upstairs are a bunch of kids.
Let's go. I need 3.
One more!
Let's go. Metro Police.
Open door! On me! We don't know where he is! Metro Police, open door! Bathroom, small bathroom. Clear.
Next. Let's go. Door. With me.
Hold the door!
Next.
Like this.
Open it. I got it.
Bathroom.
Let's go.
Coming out. We're going for it right now. Let's go!
Just move right. Cover left. Take this with me. Take this. No, that's locked. Take this door. Take this door. Take it. I think it's upstairs. It sounds like it's upstairs.
Go! Push the LPV up. Reloading! Clear! Move! Watch out! Stop moving! Get your hands away from the gun! Watch left! Get your hands away from the gun! Secondaries provide security! Hey, hold the air! Go. There you go, second floor.
I don't have a radio closet. Give me enough.
No, locked door. Where did they go in? First floor. Hold there, y'all. Somebody hold there. Hit that door. Rifle first. Blue, go. Go. Move. I'm with you. Go left. Straight. Right here. It's locked.
Go. Hit that stair. Hit the stairs. Go. Go stairs. Go stairs. Go.
Go, 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 go. Step, step, go, go, go. I got it, I got it.
Go. Keep pushing. Go. Shots fired. Shots fired. Shots fired. Move. Right, right, right. Push with LPVO. Push with LPVO. Go right. Move, move. Watch out, watch out. Move. Stop moving! Stop moving! Watch left, watch left. Suspect down, suspect down. Hey, hold the air.
Conclusion. One thing criminal justice experts understand is that active shooter incidents will likely continue, in a host of situations, unless the public and private sectors make an effort to forewarn law enforcement officials. Of the 50 active shooter designated cases analyzed by the FBI for 2022, for the first time in 5 years, the cases decreased by 18% compared to 61 in 2021. However, in 2022, there were 313 casualties and 213 wounded, the highest count in the last 5 years. The 50 shootings occurred in 25 states, and the District of Columbia. 1 law enforcement officer was killed and 21 were wounded, an increase from 2021. 47 shooters were male, 1 female, 1 non-binary, and 1 unknown. 29 handguns, 26 rifles, and 3 shotguns were used. 4 shooters wore body armor. 1 security officer and 10 citizens confronted the shooter, which ended the incident, thus saving lives. The shootings occurred in a variety of open space locations, commerce, residences, education, government, houses of worship, and healthcare facilities. Active shooter incidents in 2023 will likely follow this pattern. The findings noted in this report emphasize the importance of active shooter training and exercises for all first responders and citizens. These resources can be downloaded by selecting the Resources tab in the right-hand corner of this slide deck. Thank you for taking the time to view this training.